Welcome to Qualified at the Intersection, my 3-month anniversary. Yay! If I had any chutzpah, I would put some balloons or stuff or post-production on this video, but I'm not going to do it. So it has been 3 whole months that I have been doing a daily, weekday newsletter. That's insane. I've only missed one day because I was sick in the entire 3 months, which is bananas. And it's been really a lot of work, but also very interesting. And it really, helps the way my mind works because my mind is always churning. I mention this a lot, but it's true, and it has a lot to do with this. I was a former news anchor for a decade, and so news and information is always playing in the background in my head. Plus, I'm undiagnosed, but I'm definitely an ADHD spectrum kind of person who, I can take a bunch of information in auditorily and roll it around in my head. And so, for me, it's a lot of work, but it's also very satisfying. A lot of people ask how I do a daily newsletter every day. Well, let's go behind the curtain. Again, if I had post-production desire, I'd put like a curtain. But so how I do a newsletter is it starts out with me thinking. I think a lot all day. You'd be surprised how late in the day sometimes this newsletter gets done. It could be like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Mainly because A, there's so much information and news I'm ingesting throughout the day. And then B, I have other things that I'm doing. And then also thoughts are rolling around in my head. I'm trying to move them around in my brain in a way that works. And then sometimes I'll get all the way through an idea mentally and then totally switch. So what happens is I speak the newsletter into the audio thing on my phone. So a lot of people think like, oh, when I'm reading or when I'm talking to you like this or when I'm doing a podcast that I'm wrote that and then I'm reading it. It's actually the opposite. First, I speak it into the device like gobbledygook because it's like, oh, I'm thinking about this and oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking just randomly. And I'm also sometimes actually talking full sentences because this is, again, how my mind works. And then once I have that recording, I transcribe it. And this is where I do use tools like AI, but not to write my content. I take what I have spoken, put it into AI, and I say, hey, I need you to take my transcript and put it into a narrative. Don't change my words. Don't change my content. Which, by the way, even when you say that, it tries to change your words and your content, which is really a pain. But once I get that transcript, that clean transcript, then I start writing off of it. So it's all mine. It's all my words. It's all my thoughts. It's all my things. And you can match it up. Like when you listen to the podcast and see the writing, or when you hear me talking and see the writing, it literally is what I'm saying right now. And see, there's no wires, there's nothing, right? So that's how I put together a daily newsletter is I talk it 90% of the time. I talk it through first, and then I go back and I write it up. And, I do have a background in journalism, and so there'll be some newsletters where I put a lot of links in, you'll see, especially things where I'm saying something I know people haven't heard before, and that requires me to do research, right? I have some research time. So the newsletter right now is not my primary job, although I would love it to be. It's hard out here. I've talked about this before, but, Substack, just like everyone else, you have celebrities come over, they bring very large followings, willing to pay a lot for their content. So, those of us who are regular-ish folks, I am an author of Qualified, an attorney, adjunct. I've done a lot of things, but my audience isn't big enough for me to bring them over like that. It makes it harder for us to get those $5 a month or $60 a year, whatever it is, for the subscriptions. That being said, I would love to continue to grow this. 3 months is a short period of time to be in the game, but the growth has been astounding. I have 1,300 subscribers, which is amazing to me. In 3 months, and I have a substantial amount of paid subscribers. Not enough to get the red check yet, but I encourage you, if you want journalism that is relevant to you, if you want facts that are accessible, think about becoming a paid subscriber. Tell other people who you know who might. There's a lot of resources here. I mean, one thing I thought about 3 months ago when I started the Substack, and I've said this before, is I didn't want to charge people to leave comments. I didn't want to charge people to read the rest of the newsletter. That's just weird to me. But I do have relevant content that people can get that I charge for, and that would be the e-learning series. I put, Why We Talk About Race available restricted by the paywall for right now, but there are other things. There's unconscious bias, there's our ERG still a thing. I have a bunch of trainings that I can put up, but those will have to go behind a paywall, mainly because other people are paying for them out in the open market. So, but in 3 months, this type of growth is just amazing. So it's hard every day to figure out what to write about, what to talk about, what to think about, because there are so many things. I mean, right now we have, I feel like that Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire, where he just lists off all the things. I mean, we have Department of Education being gutted. We have Jeffrey Epstein becoming an issue for MAGA. We have public radio threatened with their funding. We have the DOJ cuts going before Congress. We have the Supreme Court deciding to abdicate all judicial responsibility over the executive. I mean, I could go on and on and on, right? Things are just moving so fast. And, I also still try to write for other publications. I just submitted a piece, hopefully that it will be considered for a publication that I've written for before, so we'll see what happens. And I have started working on my second book about victimization in the United States. I think it's a winner, so hopefully my agent thinks that, and hopefully then a publisher thinks that. But there's just so much, and then there's so much data I have yet to really mine from this book, Qualify. I frequently hear people talk about race in the workplace. I hear people talk about Black women and their job prospects. I hear white people trying to figure out what can they do. I hear other people of color thinking like, well, what about us? All of that is in that book. I spent a lot of time on that book, really giving us both a historical, current, and future perspective about race in the workplace. And so if you haven't read Qualified, How Competency Checking and Race Collide at Work, I encourage you to do so, because actually that's why I initially started the newsletter. That's why it's called Qualified at the Intersection, right? It's at the intersection of race and news and race and politics and race and culture. So 3 months in, it has been very interesting. I feel welcomed. On Substack, unlike some other platforms, I am much more inclined to use the block button or the block whatever tool, because this is a community of people who are interested in information, in creativity, and it is not easy to write every day. It isn't. Even though I talk first and then I go back and I edit what I've said into writing, it's still a pretty difficult process, and putting out a daily newsletter is hard. I know there are people here on this platform who have a lot more resources than I do who are doing it. And I know people who started and just started to do it. And so thank you so much for coming along on this ride for this first 3 months. I am looking for even more growth as we go. I am always open to your suggestions about what I should talk about, what I should cover, so feel free. I have some other exciting lives coming up, some live conversations I think you're really going to like. And as far as, the topic today's topic is, just this little insight into how I write this newsletter. Tomorrow, I'll do a summary kind of the week in news for Friday. Right, so I'll do that for Friday. But I tell you, it's in 3 months, this level of growth, I think is good. I think it's really good for a Substack. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think it's good. Again, being an onslaught, I'm not, Jim Acosta is amazing, and he deserves all the people who are following him, but, I didn't bring that following from CNN. But tell your friends, don't hide, tell everybody you know about this, and check out the weekly summary on Friday. Thanks for 3 months. Let's make it a year.